I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, January 5th, 2018, the very first weekly news wrap up of the brand new year. The WNW 316, God so loved the world, he sent his only son. Anyway, I want to get into this executive order and some of my sourcing, some of the work I did to try to confirm it. Anon, QAnon, which may be great sources, they may be totally correct. And a lot of what they have said has proven to be correct. Some of it is just you wait and see. But I wanted to get my own sources to back up what's going on. But first thing I want to concentrate on, I want you all to know that what is going on in the country is unprecedented. And it's unprecedented because of this executive order. Now, this is on whitehouse.gov. This is real. This is completely, totally real. And it's the executive order blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. Any kind, just corruption. Not a corruption just associated with human rights abuses, but just a corruption. And please take note, this is issued December 21st, 2017. Why am I pointing out that date, December 21st, 2017? Because this is the day after the House voted to give Trump his tax cuts. And that bill was on his way to the desk, which he signed on the 23rd, on a Friday, the 23rd of December. But on the 21st, after all the votes were in and nobody could change their vote, and the bill was headed to his desk, which he signed, and we now know that, he ended up doing this executive order. Why would he do that? Why would he wait till after the bill was signed? Could it be that some of the very people that were voting for the tax cuts could be some of the very people that he goes after? And I'm talking about Republicans with this executive order. Again, executive order blocking the property persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. And here it goes on to say, I'm just going to pick out a few parts here. United States seeks to impose tangible and significant consequences on those who commit serious human rights abuse or engage in corruption, as well as, now get this, folks, protect the financial system of the United States from abuse by these same persons. So he's basically telling us he's going to war, and he's going to basically counterattack and also head them off at the pass to try to crash the system. So he's going to confiscate property, block property. He's going to tie up their money. He's going to cut off the money of the New World Order, the people that have sold out our country to the New World Order. And I'm talking about both Democrats and Republicans. It is we the people against them, the swamp. And it goes on to say, and I wanted to highlight this, an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, foreign policy. That's what this is. An unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. And I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. He's declaring a national emergency, which means he can use the military. I think it's 60 days. He can use the military because of a national threat to take down the country. Treasonous threat by people who want to destroy the United States and the financial system. Now, you're talking treason there, I think. Then I want to go on, and then I want to talk about this. And this is all in this executive order. You can read it on whitehouse.gov and look it up. You can Google it. You can just put the Donald Trump executive order blocking property of persons, sex trafficking, whatever. And he's talking about what's he going to go after? Well, here it is. All property and interests in property that are in the United States. And he's not talking about just current employees and current people who work for the government. He's talking about past people who work for the government. Like maybe Secretary of State Clinton, or maybe former President Bill Clinton, or maybe a cadre of other former government officials that maybe ripped off America and committed treason and conspired against the country, like maybe, I don't know, the Bushes, I don't know. So this also goes on to say, this is to be responsible for or complicit in, this is what he's going to go after, anybody who is to be responsible for or complicit in or to have directly or indirectly involved in serious human rights abuse. You mean like maybe buying the services of Asian women who are basically human sex trafficked objects out on the West Coast? Maybe something like that. Maybe children. How about children? Trey Gowdy was talking about the child abuse in South Carolina, and that there weren't a child court. There was a juvenile court, and that trying to get a 4, 5, 6-year-old to testify in court about the people who abused him is kind of tough. Trey Gowdy in the U.S. Congress on the 4th of January was talking about that. That's real, folks. That's not an anonymous deal. And then he goes on, he's talking about the human trafficking, serious human rights abuse, and now he's talking about corruption. Now this is where it gets good, folks. Corruption, including misappropriation of state assets, the expropriation of private assets for personal gain, corruption related to government contracts. Start right there. Corruption related to government contracts. Oh, you mean like part of the missing $21 million that Dr. Mark Skidmore from the Michigan State University that he laid out on USA Watchdog? He wrote me an email. He was talking about at one point $800 billion transferred from the Treasury to the Army, not the Pentagon, the Army. The Army's budget is $122 billion roughly a year, and that they got $800 billion, 6 times its annual budget. And he did get from, the people, the IG, the people with the report saying, well, we made a mistake. It wasn't $800 billion. It was only $800 million. Only $800 million. Whew, I guess that's not a story for you to fudge out and not know that you gave only $800 million to the Army that the Congress didn't approve of, as opposed to $800 billion. This whole thing needs a complete and total audit. And think about the numbers here. Trillions. This is just Mark Skidmore, Dr. Mark Skidmore, who is an expert in public finance, identified 21 trillion of completely missing, unaccounted for, dollars in, dollars out fraud with just the Department of Defense, the DOD, and just HUD, Housing and Urban Development, just those two departments, 21 trillion. It's like, there's never just one roach. There's just never one sour government department, is there? And then down here, so corruption related to government contracts or extraction of natural resources or bribery. You mean natural resources like maybe uranium-1 and yellowcake being sent out of the country? You mean bribery like maybe what happened with the Clinton Fraud Foundation? That is absolutely unbelievable, off the charts. Charles Ortel was talking about that. As he says, it's on the books. It's at $2 billion. Just on paper, it's $2 billion. He says you have no idea how big it is. It could be $100 billion. It could be hundreds of billions. He also brought up this, and Hillary Clinton and Chelsea and Bill should take note of this. This is a real occurrence, and it happened just last month. This is a story that I got from U.S. News and World Report, or it's usnewsnow.com. Former Florida Congresswoman sentenced to 5 years for fraud. This just happened, 12/4/17. Former U.S. Representative Corrine Brown of Florida was sentenced on Monday to 5 years in prison for her role in helping raise more than $800,000 for a bogus charity that was used as a slush fund, federal court officials said. She got 5 years in the slammer for just $800,000 of a slush fund of a phony charity fraud? Gee, what would the Clintons get? Hillary Clinton left office on February 1st, 2013. February 1st, 2013. There are many federal crimes that have a 5-year statute of limitations. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So February 1st of 2018, not all, but many of her crimes will be, they'll be unable to prosecute her because of the statute of limitations running out. My bet is if there are going to be indictments of Hillary Clinton, and fraud is forever. If you've committed fraud and treason, there's no statute of limitation for fraud or treason. And my bet is they'll indict her before February 1st, 2018. That's what I think. Now, my sources. My source. I called up Dr. Dave Janda. He has his Dr. Dave Janda, davejanda.com. He's got his popular radio show, Operation Freedom. He is a retired orthopedic surgeon. So you're saying, why would you call him for a source? I'll tell you why. He spent 3 decades in and out of Washington, testifying on committees, working for administrations. I mean, the healthcare industry is a fifth, a little less than a fifth of the economy. It's a big deal. And over those 3 decades of him in and out of Washington and making contacts, he's gotten really good political contacts. He's told me at least a couple of them, and I can't pass them on, but they're high-ranking. And he told me that he has really good high-ranking military contacts and intel contacts as well. Dave Janda's a nice guy, smart guy, nice guy. So I called him up and said, Dave, I need your help. Dr. Janda, whatever. I need your help. You know, you got this QAnon and Mega Anon, and they're anonymous. I mean, they may be telling the complete and total truth, but can you back up some of the stuff they're saying? He says, yes, I can. I don't mean Mega Anon or QAnon. He said, no, I'm using my own sources. Number one, the Bannon thing. Is that real? He says, no, that's fake fighting. That's WWE. That's a deal that Bannon and I brought this up before too, and he's basically confirmed this latest round with Bannon. Like, what's he doing? It's a smokescreen. It's a look over here, according to Dr. Janda and his sources. I said, so this is just fake fighting? He goes, yeah, just fake fighting. No. I said, what about the Clintons? He said, oh, they'll be indicted. Hillary's going to go down. He said, also, Barack Obama may be the first president to be indicted and serve time in jail, and followed by a close number 2, maybe Bill Clinton. Whew, that's his sources. He also says that General Flynn, he said, when you think about this, General Flynn, who was General Flynn? He was military intelligence. There you go. Military intelligence. So you have the military intel against the CIA, rogue CIA people. And I'm not saying all CIA are rogue. There's a lot of people in the intel community that hate what's going on. A lot of this stuff is happening at management level with the FBI, with the Department of Justice, under the Obama administration, with Loretta Lynch and Holder and people over at the FBI, McCabe and Comey, and unbelievable amount of corruption. And he says, these people are on the run, Dave Janda. He says, my sources say these people are on the run. I said, what is this going on right now? The president declared a national emergency. Oh, without question. Without question, and the bad people are on the run, and he says they're tying up their assets. And we started talking about the assets and thinking, wow, if you have a budgetary problem, one of the best things you can do is just get some more money. And you start looking at the people that have money in the tens of billions, hundreds of billions, maybe trillions of dollars. The wild card is, what is he going to confiscate? What is he going to be able to block? Could it be trillions of dollars? Could it be some of this money that has been stolen? I mean, if Hillary Clinton would have been elected, all the bad guys would have been able to keep their money. We'd have crashed the economy. Everybody would have in Main Street would have been, eating out of trash cans, and they would be able to live fat, high on their heart. We'd have a 1/10 or 1/100th of 1%. And I guess these guys would go in their bunkers for a while until all blew over, until half the population killed themselves up above. But no. This is all changed. No, their money's being taken. Well, you can make your budget look pretty good. All of a sudden, if Donald Trump has a $1 trillion deficit, if he could confiscate a couple of $1 trillion, wow, he'd look pretty good. So my source, Dr. Dave Janda says, yes, all this stuff is true. They're on the run. They are building onto Gitmo. There are going to be military tribunals. He says, a lot of these people are just leaving. Have you noticed all the people just leaving? Now, everybody's not going to be prosecuted. Some people, they're just going to say, for you can just leave. You can just leave and stay out of the way, and we'll let you go. But for you guys, you're going down. I said, what about Mueller? Is that real? I've heard this. He says, Mueller is playing a part. Flynn is playing a part. All that's going to be reversed. Flynn pleading guilty to the FBI charges and Manafort and all this. He says all that stuff's going to be reversed. He says, you notice that Mueller, the day before he was named special prosecutor, he had a meeting, a one-on-one meeting with Trump, and he says, and my sources tell me, this Dr. Dave Jan, he says, my sources tell me that Donald Trump said, here's what I got on you. You're going down. You committed treason. You let the Uranium One deal go through and other things, and either you play ball and operate this giant Mueller false narrative smokescreen, or you're going to jail. And you got to tell me right now, what's it going to be? And evidently, he said, I'm not going to go to jail. And this is why he had to load up the investigation with all these partisan people. He had to dig, and he couldn't have anybody there, according to Dave Janda, that would say, hey, what? This isn't even ethical. No, he had to have all these people in there to carry on this, look over here, look over here. What's going on, folks, is big. I mean, some people say this is the covert second Revolutionary War. I mean, this is huge. The other thing Janda said was we are going to have the Petro Yuan, and that's coming out the 18th of January, and it is. Looked it up. It's coming out the 18th of January. I had one commenter on my site, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. I don't know I'm not going to give your last name, but you've been on this Petro Yuan. That's going to be a big deal. And that's, according to Dave Janda, he says, that's why the president went over and talked a few months ago in China. They're working out a deal rather than have mass chaos and rioting and whatever. And all over the world, the Chinese were like, yeah, we don't want that either. And where there's going to be a big debt reset. I mean, folks, look at the top of your dollars. It says Federal Reserve Note, like a promissory note. That is a debt instrument. Now, a quarter is a $quarter, not a $quarter note. Of course, having a bunch bags of change isn't very, effective, and it's pretty bulky. But the debt's going to be reset. And Trump, being he's good at bankruptcy, is going to also turn the country into a net oil exporter. This is something I got on my own. He's all the rigs are heading back towards the United States. He's opening up the Gulf. In the tax deal, he got Anwar opened up. They're going to drill oil and natural gas up there. The United States is going to be Saudi Arabia of the world for the next 50 years. We're going to be the big energy producer. The United States. Saudi Arabia is trying to do their Aramco deal where they're trying to put it out in stock. Why would they do that? Why would you just keep sucking the profits out of the ground? Because their oil is getting down to the end of the deal. They got to diversify. They got to do something else. But you can make yourself look really good. Back to the confiscation. Back to this executive order. Listen, Warren Pollack brought this up early on, right after he got elected. He said, "Listen, Trump's either going to have to fight or he's going to die. He can't allow these guys to just keep taking pot shots at him." I had a friend of mine in college. His name was George Allen. I think he was 32 or 33, and he was a freshman or sophomore in college. He'd spent time in the military and dilly-dallied, came from a rich family, and finally he decided to go to college. And amazing guy, smart guy. To me, when you have somebody 10 years, 12 years older than you, it was like, well, man, you're old. And he always said something. He says, listen, you ever get into an argument with somebody? You ever really get into it with something, you got to hit him back? He says, don't punch him in the head. Don't bust out the windshield. Don't do that. No, that ain't going to hurt. No, hit him where it hurts. And he held up his big, fat, beat-up wallet. Hit him right here. Hit him right here. And what's Trump doing? Hitting him in the wallet, running him out of money. Trump, he is fighting back, and he is confiscating wealth. And he is going after these people. And the stories you're hearing, I got backed up from Dr. Dave Janda and multiple military and political sources that he has, separate from QAnon, separate from Mega Anon, and they may be just fine and lovely. Oh, he also said QAnon is likely, and this is what he thinks, is likely a White House source on a mission to disperse information and disperse things to get it out there, to get it moving. The crimes are so outrageous, and with these the child trafficking so dreadful that a lot of people are just going to be they're just going to shut down. But going after them, not just for the crime. This is why he enlisted the help of the Treasury. I didn't bring that out in the executive order. The executive order, he talks about the Treasury, which controls the SWIFT system, which stop people from transferring money out, stop people from hitting the derivatives complex and blowing the country up and trying to create a big smokescreen at the expense of 320 million Americans. So yes, Donald Trump has gone to war. And according to Dave Janda, he has them on the run. And then I want to get into this. And this is Donald Trump's tweet. This just happened yesterday. You heard about he's disbanded his voter fraud commission. There are several states, California, New York, Virginia, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Kentucky, Mitch McConnell's state, that won't play ball. They will not be involved. And with the giving information, this is public record stuff. They're like, oh, this is stupid. This is silly. We're not wasting our tax money for that. There's no voter fraud. Did you forget the Project Veritas, where they had Bob Kramer on, who went to the White House 50 some odd times and had personal meetings with Obama 40 times talking about voter fraud? Did they miss all the voter fraud the Jill Stein investigations uncovered up in the north Midwest? How about all the voter fraud in Wayne County, Michigan, where there were way more votes than voters? Ballot box stuffing, voter fraud in Philadelphia. I mean, voter fraud everywhere. And listen, this voter fraud I asked him about that too. I said, Dr. Dave, the voter fraud in Alabama, is that going to stand? He goes, oh, no. They took the bait. No, they totally took the bait. That's another psyop. And here we go. Trump's not going to let that go. Here we go. This is Donald Trump. This is his Twitter account. Many, mostly Democrat states, refuse to hand over new data from the 2016 election. Hand over data from the 2016 election to the commission on voter fraud. They fought hard that the commission not see their records or methods because they know many people are voting illegally. System is rigged. Must go to voter ID. This is January 4th at 6:02 a.m. The president's up working at 6:02 a.m. He knows he can't win another election because they would just ramp up the fraud. And I think the test case was Alabama. That's not over, according to Dr. Dave Janda. And then we have the day before, this is Sarah Huckabee, the White House spokesperson, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, said that, rather than engage in endless legal battles at taxpayer expense, he, the president, has asked the Department of Homeland Security, ding, 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 the president has asked the Department of Homeland Security to review its initial findings and determine next course of action, says Sarah Huckabee Sanders. What does that mean? He's going to turn it over to Homeland Security? Oh, yeah. You mean that, basically a voter fraud on a massive scale is a threat to the democracy, to the republic? Voter fraud on a massive scale in the biggest states in the union with the most electoral college votes is a threat to national security? You betcha. Who runs Homeland Security? A Marine general that Kelly handpicked? This has gone into overdrive, folks. Oh, we want this information. You're not going to give it to us? You're under arrest. We're going to come in and get it. We have guns. We're Homeland Security. This is a threat to the existence of the United States. Don't think the president can't use the military. There's laws where he can't use the military. No, they swear an oath that they will protect the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. George Soros is a domestic terrorist. He's out with a big money grab thing, out west with Maxine Waters. He's wanting to sink America. He also controls the voting machines. That's why you're seeing this latest legislation. We're going to go to an all-paper ballot. No more electronic voting. And the voter fraud in Alabama, Judge Moore, he said the deep state spent $50 million. Just Mitch McConnell and Karl Rove and that super PAC, $32 million for a job that pays, $275 a year with a staff of 25? A senator? He says Trump's going after the voter fraud, and they set the trap and they took the bait in Alabama. He says even if the senator is seated, it ain't gonna last. It ain't gonna make it. And they're gonna wait till 2020 for the seat. So you've got the Mueller investigation, which is, even if Dr. Janda is not right, and I think he is, it's going nowhere. You've got Hillary Clinton, who they've opened up the file on the email file, which implicates tons of people on the email file, play to pay. There's a reason why she had a global charity fraud, as Charles Ortel said. You had to have people on both sides of the aisle, high ranking, with some sort of reason not to blow the whistle out and say, hey, we want to audit this multi-billion-dollar, it's $2 billion on paper. You know, they were up there in New York, people of Haiti, protesting. They hate Bill Clinton. They hate him. They raised, billions of dollars, and they got diddly squat down there. This DACA thing, I want to just talk about that before I go into my last little round of stuff. DACA. I don't care about foreign children that were brought here. You know what I care about? I care about American citizens. And we have an island full of American citizens in Puerto Rico that need money. Yes, their leaders ripped them off and basically misappropriated, and I think some of it stole $74 billion in bond debt that they quit paying on. There's more than 1 million people. I think it's 40% of the island, the people that are left down there. These are Americans. These are like people, in Iowa or Florida or Missouri or Texas. These are American citizens. I don't care about DACA. There's my senator, Tom Tillis, in a meeting with President Trump, doing stuff for foreigners, getting jobs and getting citizens and benefits for foreigners. Thank you, Tom Tillis. Thank you for going to Washington and working for people who are foreigners, Tom Tillis. The senator from North Carolina, the only time I ever hear him talk is when he's talking about foreigners. We have citizens in Puerto Rico. I don't care about DACA. They should be mad that their parents brought them over here. There's probably 1 million citizens in Puerto Rico that are living in squalor with no power. Yes, their leaders ripped them off. Yes, they're victims. But they're citizens of this country. Fix that before you fix DACA. Or stick that into the DACA fix. That you want the people of Puerto Rico, you want to go down there and fix that before you ought to cut the DACA benefits to nothing. You get to come here and you get to work, period. They ought to fix Puerto Rico first. So with all this, he's going after the deep state. He's cutting their money off. He's confiscating their properties, their boats, their cars, their money, their stocks, their bonds, their diamonds, their gold. Anything and everything is up for grabs with this order. And remember, this is a national emergency. A national emergency. That means they didn't wait. They're not waiting till the mid-2008. This is going on now. To deal with the threat. National emergency. He wants to protect the financial system. They're going after voter fraud now with the law. It's a national security issue. They tried it the nice way. They all put up with this silly, there's no voter fraud, you silly, you crazy rabbit. There's no voter fraud. Right. That's what you keep telling us, despite the mounting evidence. And Trump says he has tons of evidence there's voter fraud. Then you have this. Washington's growing obsession with the 25th Amendment. This is Politico. This is where they can remove you from office if you're not fit to be president. Look at this wackadoodle stuff. This is Yale University psychiatric professor Dr. Brady X. Lee to Capitol Hill last month for 2 days of briefings about his recent behavior, Trump's recent behavior. Lee, author of The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump. Oh, he's selling a book. Yeah, got it. Which includes testimonials from 27 other quack psychiatrists that have never personally examined the president. They're just watching him on TV and they think he's crazy. Really? And mental health experts addressing the president's level of dangerousness. Dr. Lee, you're a quack. I got a general studies degree. And I know full well you couldn't commit somebody, you couldn't remove them from office as president of the United States by watching them on TV and giving a psychiatric appraisal of their behavior. You would have to have detailed examination, face-to-face, one-on-one, and not just for an hour. And certainly not watching them on TV. So Mr. Lee, you, Dr. Lee, and your 27 other quacks are just that. You're partisan quacks. You don't like somebody's politics. You don't like somebody's tactics. So therefore they're crazy and you're going to remove them from office. You, sir, are a quack. You should lose, you and the 27 other doctors, psychiatrists, should lose your medical license for this. You're a quack. You can't make a psychiatric evaluation based on watching somebody on TV. Quack, 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 quack. And even I know that, and I've got a crappy undergraduate degree. That ain't going to work, folks. That's another thing I asked Dr. Janda, who's going to be a guest on the show in the next few weeks. I'm going to get him. He couldn't come on because he was indisposed doing some family stuff. But anyway, he said, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. He says, and I also think that it's illegal for you to make a psychiatric evaluation without personally examining the person. He's a medical doctor. He said, I'm not sure about that because he's an orthopedic surgeon, but he said, I think it's illegal for them to do that. It's certainly unethical. I think it's quackery. Finally, man, I'm glad I'm not working at CNN anymore. I'm not just saying it to be sour grapes. I mean, when I was there, management paid me to go out and do big stories and think big, and they approved stuff for me to do big stories and big things. I didn't just, incidentally, everything I did was approved by management before we rolled the first inch of tape or the first nanosecond of video. Everything was approved. Everything was talked about when we were doing a big story. And this thing did you see CNN and Randy Kay and in Colorado celebrating the legalization of marijuana statewide? And she's got a joint in her hand. Here, I'm coughing. She's got a joint in her hand at one instance. I have it right here. Here's the picture of her on video with a joint in her hand. And there's other pictures of her with, bongs and smoking weed. On CNN for New Year's Eve, because they're celebrating this clown show of debauchery. We have a huge opioid crisis, and CNN is glamorizing, weed. And Randy Kay, you can't see it in the picture here, but she's got big pot leaf earrings on. And I'm thinking, this is the most trusted name in news. Oh, yeah, they haven't used that for a long time. Remember James Earl Jones? The most trusted name in news. Not anymore. And Franklin Graham is out hotter than a hornet and pointing out the immorality of this. Reverend Graham slams CNN for promoting drug use, calls for firing of reporters. Don't fire the reporters. They're just doing what they're told. They set up a live shot. They sent a live truck to this thing. They budgeted money. They budgeted hotel rooms. They knew they were going to be here. They got a sound person. They got a producer. They got a guy. They got a guy running camera. They got Randy Kay. Listen, they budgeted for this. This is what they intended to show. Weed. Wasn't like they were doing a live shot in downtown Denver and somebody walked up with a joint. Okay, that happens. It's legal. Fine. But they're glorifying it. And what did Franklin Graham, he was just ripping them. I just want to read this one thing to you. After CNN broadcast news story on New Year's Eve that touted the joys of smoking pot and getting stoned, Reverend Franklin Graham castigated the cable news outlet for promoting drug use, his quote, and called CNN to apologize and to fire the producers, reporters involved in the decadent news story. They ought to fire Jeff Zucker. I've been telling you that for I don't know how long. He's imbecilic. I mean, if I was running CNN, I'd be firing people. We wouldn't be doing any more fake news stories. First thing I would do is I'd go over and I'd get up with, I don't know, Sarah Huckabee or Kelly. If I could get a meeting with the president, please stop calling us fake news, Mr. President. Please, we're going to try. We're going to be fair. That's all the president wants. Just be fair. Ask fair questions. They asked a question in the White House briefing room: Is Donald Trump mentally ill or something like that? I mean, these guys are stupid. So let me get this straight now. There's an executive order that comes out the 20th, and you're wasting a question on how often do you beat your wife, Mr. Jones? Is Donald Trump mentally ill? I mean, that kind of a yellow dog journalism. And you're not asking questions about this executive order. Why is this a national emergency? Why is he protecting the financial system? What's going on? That's a legitimate question. No. Crickets. Pot smoking. New Year's Eve. Don Lemon's kissing his boyfriend on the air. I don't care if you kiss your boyfriend. I wouldn't slobber all over my wife on the air on New Year's Eve. I'd be like, honey, I'm working. Thanks. I'll see you, like at 12:30. I wouldn't do that. I don't want to see him kissing his boyfriend. That's not the news. I mean, the mainstream media, the layoffs, I've said the layoffs would be stunning. We've had tons of layoffs. ESPN, you've seen all these layoffs. They're going to get more layoffs in 2018. Donald Trump is the news media is destroying themselves, and basically Donald Trump is, he's got the book of matches. They're pouring lighter fluid all over themselves, and Donald Trump is like, crazy. But all that to say this, good things are happening, folks. If he confiscates a if he confiscates $500 billion, that's a big help to his budget. He may confiscate trillions. There's a reason why he's doing this. There's a reason why he's using the military. There's a reason why he's going after voter fraud now with the Department of Homeland Security. He didn't go right to DEFCON 1. He went to DEFCON 4. And now he's gone to DEFCON 2 or 3. And, or 3 or 2. And 1 is the highest. And this isn't going to last. These guys are going to cry foul and whine and whatever. And this crime is not going to last. Janda told me this. He says, listen, we're going to look back on this 5 years from now. We're going to go, wow, unbelievable. This was an unbelievable time. How did Trump keep everything going without totally crashing the economy? He says he's talked to the Chinese. He says he suspects he talked to the Chinese. He said there's going to be disruptions, but he's got the best deal possible for America. And I'll tell you the big wild card is how much money, property, stocks, bonds, land, assets. How much can Donald Trump confiscate? And he's not just going to go to Joe Q. Public, who bought himself 20 ounces of gold and a monster box of silver for an investment. No. Going after corruption, human traffickers, people that cheated on government contracts. I mean, this is good news, folks. And this is from a guy that does the presidency, that does the job of the president for $1 a year. I believe it's $1 a year. Is he perfect? No. Is he going to make some mistakes? Yes. But boy, he has come after them. And that is some good news for the first week of 2018. I suspect if they're going to, as I said, if they're going to indict Hillary Clinton, Janda said Chelsea has a name on her warrant as well. She has indictment charges on her. She ran the charity. Bill Clinton, Chelsea, senators on both sides of the aisle, Congress people on both sides of the aisle. That's why you're seeing a lot of these people step down. Many people will be prosecuted. Some people will be allowed to just walk away. Just go away. And don't you dare come back. So, listen, folks. Just keep preparing yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Prepare yourself. Fear not. God the Father is in charge. along with his son, Jesus Christ. Christ came to the apostles in Matthew 28:18 and said, all power in heaven and earth has been given to me. And I just want to remind you of this, talking about Chelsea Clinton, who I told you that listen, these people believe in Satan. And what does she say in a tweet? Yeah, me and the Church of Satan we're on a thread together, and wished the Church of Satan Happy New Year. And then said, oh, I don't have anything to do with it. I'm a Methodist. I don't have anything to do with the Church of Satan. Well, that'd be bad for a political career, wouldn't it? I will tell you that when this Petro Yuan comes in, gold and silver, according to Dr. Dave Janda, before I finish, they're going to go way up. Things are going to be reset, and for gold and silver, that's a higher price for that. And this is I think this is the second American Revolution that is going on right now. I think that when Donald Trump back in October said this is the calm before the storm, I think the storm is here. He said that in front of a bunch of generals, having a meeting with the generals. But I want to end with this one thing, and I just want to have you end with this. And this is in the Bible, and it's so true. This is Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. I expect that these evil weasels are going to fight back. Are they going to try to crash the system? Are they going to kind of dislocate things? Are they going to try to make Donald Trump and his administration look bad? I don't know. Probably yes. But don't lose your faith, folks. Don't lose your faith, and don't let these weasels make you fearful. Fear not. Fear not. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com with your comments and donations. That helps us out. And again, prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father and the Son, Jesus Christ, are firmly in control.